The Zorgon captain laughed cruelly as he forced the human to his knees and put a plasma pistol to his head. But that human, Captain Zane Erickson, just glared back with defiant eyes, even with his face bruised and bleeding. Zane had been exploring a distant star system in the Odyssey when the strange alien ship approached. The Zorgons hailed them just to mock and insult humanity, calling them puny and worthless. But Zane refused to take their scorn. He challenged the Zorgon captain to a series of trials to prove humanity's power. If Zane won, the Zorgons would submit to humanity, but if humanity lost, Earth would be enslaved. Now, with a gun to his head, it seemed like Zane had failed. The Zorgon captain grinned as he prepared to execute Zane and conquer mankind. But Zane had a plan. Humanity's fate hinged on this moment. He had to succeed, or every human would suffer. The Zorgon squeezed the trigger. Zane gritted his teeth as he stared down the Zorgon captain. His finger trembled on the plasma pistol's trigger. Zane closed his eyes and braced himself for the end. But the burning bolt of plasma never came. Krelok lowered the gun and sneered. "I won't grant you a quick death, human. I want you to watch as your species is ground into dust beneath the boots of the Zorgon Empire. The trials will continue, and we will crush you." Zane was thrown back into a cell on the Zorgon ship, his body aching but his resolve unbroken. He had to find a way to beat these trials. The fate of humanity depended on him. Back on the Odyssey, Lieutenant Commander Max Rader rallied the crew in Zane's absence. "The captain needs our help if we're going to stick it to these arrogant Zorgon bastards. I want everyone putting their heads together. Find me solutions to beat them at their own game." The crew set to work with grim determination. In the engineering bay, Max pored over schematics and simulations. He had a few ideas on how to give them an edge. Meanwhile, Krelok seethed with growing frustration as Zane continued to hold his own in the trials. The human was proving surprisingly resourceful and resilient. In a zero-G endurance challenge, Zane's Space Marine training saw him outlast the Zorgon competitors. In a test of raw strength, Zane moved massive objects that the Zorgons struggled with. Max discreetly beamed him a strength-enhancing exosuit to even the odds. Krelok gnashed his teeth. The human could not be allowed to succeed. He would make certain of it. During a desert survival trial under a blazing sun, Krelok secretly ordered the human's water supply contaminated. Zane wouldn't die, but severe dehydration would cripple his performance. When an exhausted, delirious Zane returned from the trial, he immediately suspected foul play. He staggered into Krelok's command center and slammed his fists on the console. "You untreacherous snake, you tried to poison me," Zane rasped, his swollen tongue stumbling over the words. "Where is your honor?" "We are Zorgons, you insignificant primate. We do not lose," Krelok hissed. "Certainly not to some upstart species that just figured out how to sail the stars. I will do whatever is necessary to cement the supremacy of the Zorgon Empire." "Then prepare to have your supremacy shoved right up your scaly ass," Zane shot back. "Humanity will never submit to tyrants and cheats like you. We'll fight you to the last breath." "Bold claims from the loser of our little contest," Krelok laughed mockingly. "You're in no position to make threats, Captain. I hold all the leverage. The trials are nearly over, and your species' fate is sealed." Zane smiled, a trickle of blood running from his cracked lips. "We'll see about that. I think you'll find humanity is full of surprises. Don't underestimate us." Krelok's eyes narrowed. "You arrogant fools. I'm going to enjoy snuffing out the light of your insignificant little world." The Zorgon captain stormed off, his tail whipping angrily behind him. Zane sagged against the wall and groaned. The future of human-Zorgon relations balanced on a razor's edge. One wrong move could doom Earth to generations of slavery and misery. Zane and Max had clawed their way to the brink of victory, but Krelok was determined to win by any means necessary. As the final trial loomed, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Zane had one last chance to prove humanity's worth and secure their place among the stars. Zane was dragged into Krelok's command center in chains, his body battered but his spirit unbroken. The Zorgon captain loomed over him, a cruel sneer twisting his reptilian features. "You put up an admirable fight, human," Kralok hissed, "but it was all for nothing. The trials were merely a distraction while our real plan unfolded." Zane's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about, you scaly bastard?" Kralok let out a sinister chuckle. "Even now a Zorgon invasion fleet is preparing to descend upon your pathetic little planet. Earth will fall, and your species will be enslaved, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." Rage surged through Zane's veins. He strained against his bonds, his muscles bulging. "You lying snake! You never intended to honor our deal. This was all a sick game to you." "Of course it was," Kralok replied smugly. "Humans are weak, Zane, unfit to stand among the great powers of the galaxy. You need a firm hand to guide you, the firm hand of the Zorgon Empire." "We'll see about that," Zane snarled. "I'm going to stop you, Kralok, whatever it takes. Humanity will never bow to your tyranny." Kralok backhanded him across the face, splitting Zane's lip. "Bold words, Captain, but you'll soon learn the folly of defying the Zorgon Empire." Zane was dragged back to his cell and thrown roughly inside. He hit the hard metal floor with a grunt, tasting blood in his mouth, but his mind was racing with newfound purpose. He had to get back to the Odyssey, had to warn Earth and mount a defense, but first, he needed to neutralize that invasion fleet. His crew came through for him. Max managed to smuggle a microburst transmitter into his cell, hidden in a tasteless nutrient bar. Zane tapped out a coded message detailing Kralok's plans. "We can't let those Zorgon bastards reach Earth," Zane said when Max's reply flashed across the tiny screen. "We have to take out that invasion fleet before it even leaves the system." "I'm with you, Captain," Max responded. "What's the play?" Zane outlined his daring plan. It was a long shot, but it was the only chance they had. "Infiltrate and sabotage," Max said grimly. "Roger that, I'll rally the crew. Just sit tight and don't die on us." "No promises," Zane said wryly. "Give 'em hell, Max." The Odyssey crew sprang into action. Under the cover of a diversionary attack, Max led a strike team onto the Zorgon mothership. They split up, planting explosive charges at key structural points. But the Zorgons were waiting for them. The alien warriors attacked in overwhelming numbers, driving the humans back with withering plasma fire. Max took a bolt to the shoulder, the searing pain nearly dropping him, but he pushed through and fought on. Zane, hearing the chaos unfolding over the comms, knew he had to act. He made his move, overpowering his guards and seizing their weapons. Then he stormed through the ship on a one-man rampage. He blasted his way onto the bridge, dropping Zorgons left and right with precision shots. The deck was slick with green blood by the time he seized the control console. "All teams, fall back to the hangar bay," Zane barked over comms. "I'm venting the ship to space." Warning klaxons blared as the Zorgon crew scrambled in a panic. Zane ignored the chaos, his fingers flying over the console to override safety protocols. Max and the other humans barely made it to the Odyssey before the mothership's outer doors yawned open. The vacuum of space rushed in, explosively depressurizing the massive vessel. Zorgon bodies tumbled out into the void like rag dolls. In the hangar bay, Zane sprinted for the Odyssey's open airlock. A horde of Zorgon warriors was hot on his heels, wildly firing their weapons. Plasma bolts sizzled past him, scorching the deck plates. Zane zigzagged and rolled, but one lucky shot clipped his leg. He stumbled with a grunt of pain but kept running on pure adrenaline. Ahead, Max beckoned frantically from the airlock, motioning for Zane to hurry. Behind, Kralok charged through his own soldiers, murder in his eyes. The Zorgon captain leveled his rifle and fired. Zane felt a line of fire erupt along his ribs. His body spun with the impact. Max screamed his name. But he was already moving. Zane dove through the airlock in a burst of desperate speed. Max slammed his fist on the controls, and the heavy doors hissed shut. "Go!" Zane roared, staggering to his feet. Blood pulsed between his fingers where he clutched his wounded side. "Get us out of here now!" The Odyssey engines roared to life. The battered human ship blasted free of the dying mothership and streaked into open space. Behind them, a chain of explosions ripped through the Zorgon invasion fleet. The alien ships cracked apart and disintegrated under the onslaught. Kralok's anguished howl echoed impotently over the comms before being abruptly silenced. Zane collapsed heavily into the command chair, his breath coming in ragged gasps. His crew stared at him in awe and concern. "Set a course for Earth," he rasped. "We have to warn them, have to get them ready to fight. This isn't over yet." Max gripped his shoulder. "We did it, Captain. We stopped the invasion." Zane shook his head grimly. "We won a battle, Max, but I think we just kicked off a war. Kralok and the Zorgans aren't going to forgive this slight against their supremacy." He fixed his steely gaze on the forward viewport, watching the stars streak by. "Humanity needs to be ready. The Zorgans will be coming for us, and when they do, we'll show them the true strength of the human spirit." Zane and his crew fought their way through the Zorgon mothership, trading fire with the alien defenders. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air, the acrid scent of ozone mixing with the coppery tang of blood. The humans pushed forward, their faces grim and determined, even as their numbers dwindled. Max took point, his rifle barking in controlled bursts. A Zorgan warrior lunged at him from a side passage, screeching a battle cry. Max pivoted and unloaded into the alien's chest, sending it crashing to the deck in a spray of viscous green blood. "Keep moving," Zane roared over the chaos. "We're almost at the command center." They rounded a corner and found themselves face to face with a phalanx of elite Zorgan guards. The hulking aliens bristled with weapons and armor, their reptilian eyes glinting with malice. Zane didn't hesitate. He charged forward, a primal battle cry ripping from his throat. His crew followed without question, hurling themselves into the fray with reckless abandon. The clash was brutal and bloody. Zane fought like a man possessed, his fists and feet lashing out in a blur of motion. He dropped Zorgans left and right, their bones shattering under his relentless onslaught. Max and the others held the line, pouring fire into the enemy ranks. They fought with the desperate fury of cornered animals, knowing that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Finally, they broke through. The command center doors loomed before them, guarded by two massive Zorgans with crackling energy pikes. Zane dispatched them with a flurry of precise strikes, his movements fluid and lethal. They burst into the command center, weapons leveled. Kralok stood at the center of the room, surrounded by his most trusted officers. The Zorgon captain's eyes widened in shock and rage at the sight of the humans. "You!" he snarled, his voice dripping with venom. "You dare invade my ship, you insignificant primates!" Zane stepped forward, his blood-streaked face set in a mask of determination. "It's over, Kralok. Your invasion fleet is finished. Surrender now, and I might let you live." Kralok laughed, a harsh and grating sound. "Surrender? To a lowly creature like you? Never!" The Zorgon captain lunged, a wicked-looking blade appearing in his hand as if by magic. Zane met him head-on, sparks flying as their weapons clashed. They traded blows in a deadly dance, their faces inches apart. Kralok was strong and fast, his movements fueled by a lifetime of combat experience. But Zane was driven by something deeper, an unbreakable will to protect his people. Around them, Max and the other humans engaged the Zorgon officers. The command center devolved into a vicious melee, bodies slamming into consoles and blood spraying across screens. Max weaved through the chaos, his rifle forgotten as he grappled with a Zorgon nearly twice his size. The alien's claws raked across his back, drawing a grunt of pain. But Max fought on, slamming his elbow into the Zorgon's throat and crushing its windpipe. Zane and Kralok circled each other like wolves, their chests heaving with exertion. Kralok feinted left, then lunged right, his blade seeking Zane's heart. But the human was ready. He parried the blow and counterattacked, his fist hammering into Kralok's jaw with a sickening crunch. The Zorgon captain reeled back, spitting blood and broken teeth. Zane pressed his advantage, raining down blows in a relentless barrage. Kralok's defenses crumbled, his blade clattering to the deck. Zane grabbed the front of Kralok's uniform and hauled him close, their faces inches apart. "Yield," Zane growled, his eyes burning with intensity. "Yield, or I will end you here and now." Kralok stared back defiantly for a long moment, hatred etched into every line of his alien features. Then, slowly, he raised his hands in surrender. Around them, the last of the Zorgon officers fell, overwhelmed by the human onslaught. Max and the surviving crew members gathered around Zane, their weapons trained on the defeated aliens. "It's done," Max said, his voice rough with exhaustion and emotion. "We did it, Captain. We won." Zane nodded, his grip on Kralok never wavering. "Send out a general distress signal to the invasion fleet. Tell them their commander has fallen and their mothership is crippled. If they don't turn back now, we'll hunt down every last one of them." Max relayed the message, his fingers flying over the comms console. For a moment there was silence. Then a series of confirmations flooded in as the Zorgon ships acknowledged the surrender and began to retreat. Zane released Kralok, letting the alien slump to the deck. He turned to face his crew, his expression a mix of pride and solemnity. "This is a great victory," he said, his voice ringing out through the command center. "But it is only the beginning. The Zorgons will not forget this defeat. They will be back, and in greater numbers." He looked each of his crew members in the eye, his gaze unwavering. "But we will be ready for them. Humanity will not bow to tyranny or oppression. We will fight, and we will win, no matter the cost." The humans nodded, their faces set with grim determination. They knew the road ahead would be long and hard, but they also knew that they had something worth fighting for, the freedom and survival of their species. Zane turned back to the view screen, watching as the last of the Zorgon ships fled into the void. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun, and humanity would be ready to meet it head-on. The Zorgon mothership hung dead in space, a twisted wreck of scorched metal and shattered dreams. Zane stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, his gaze fixed on the viewscreen as the last remnants of the invasion fleet limped away in defeat. Behind him, his crew tended to their wounds and celebrated their hard-fought victory. But there was still one last piece of business to attend to. "Bring him in," Zane ordered, his voice cold and hard. The bridge doors slid open, and two Marines escorted a battered and beaten Kralok onto the deck. The once proud Zorgon captain looked like a shadow of his former self, his uniform torn and bloodied, his eyes hollow with despair. The Marines forced Kralok to his knees before Zane, their weapons trained on the alien's head. Kralok looked up at the human captain, his gaze a mix of hatred and grudging respect. "You fought well, human," Kralok rasped, his voice thick with pain. "You have proven yourself a worthy adversary." Zane stared down at the defeated Zorgon, his jaw clenched with barely contained rage. "You lied to us, Kralok. You used the trials as a distraction while you planned to invade our world. You betrayed the trust we placed in you." Kralok let out a bitter laugh. "Trust? There is no trust between species, human, only the strong and the weak. The Zorgon Empire is strong. We do not bow to anyone." Zane's eyes flashed with anger. "And yet here you are on your knees before me, begging for mercy." Kralok's gaze dropped to the deck, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "I have no choice. You have beaten us, human. My fleet is in ruins, my warriors slain. I have nothing left to fight with." Zane felt a surge of temptation wash over him. It would be so easy to end the Zorgon threat right here and now, to put a bullet in Kralok's head and be done with it, to make them pay for all the lives they had taken, all the suffering they had caused. But as he looked down at the broken alien before him, Zane knew that was not the path he wanted to take. He was better than that. Humanity was better than that. "I could kill you right now," Zane said softly. "I could wipe out your entire species and ensure that you never threaten us again. But I won't." Kralok looked up at him in surprise. "Why not? It is what we would do in your place." Zane shook his head. "That's the difference between us, Kralok. Humanity doesn't conquer. We don't enslave, we don't destroy for the sake of destruction. We seek to coexist, to find a way to live in peace with the other species of the galaxy." He took a step closer to the kneeling Zorgon, his voice dropping to a low, intense whisper. "But make no mistake, if you ever come for us again, if you ever try to hurt my people, I will not hesitate to end you. Humanity will fight to protect what is ours, and we will not stop until every last one of you is nothing but dust and ashes." Greylock stared up at him for a long moment, his eyes wide with fear and understanding. Then slowly he lowered his gaze and bowed his head in submission. "I understand, human. The Zorgan Empire will trouble you no more, you have my word." Zane nodded, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over him. "See that you keep it. Now get the hell off my ship." The Marines hauled Greylock to his feet and dragged him away, the bridge doors sliding shut behind them. Zane turned to face his crew, his expression softening as he saw the pride and relief on their faces. "We did it," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "We showed them what humanity is capable of, what we're willing to fight for." Max stepped forward, his hand coming to rest on Zane's shoulder. "You made the right choice, Captain. Killing them wouldn't have solved anything. It would have just made us like them." Zane nodded, his gaze distant. "I know, but this is just the beginning, Max. There are other threats out there, other species that will see us as weak and ripe for conquest. We have to be ready for them." As the Odyssey turned its nose towards Earth and engaged its engines, Zane couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. But whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that he and his crew would face them together. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and they would not falter, they would not yield, they would fight, and they would win. No matter the cost. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.